website for parents to go to find a locator. And so thank you for for any parents or loved ones or individuals who have an addiction, they can go to www.samhsa.gov/find treatment so they can find centers. Thank you. I apologize.
Thank you. Mr. Hice?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would ask unanimous consent to have submitted to the record a CNN article about how the Trump administration won a major policy shift from the Chinese on fentanyl.
So ordered.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Director Carroll, from what I'm hearing, it is accurate to say that you are continuing to track the increases of fentanyl coming across the southern border. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, we have to.
And you described it as frightening.
Yes, sir. Scared for the parents and the kids out there.
Absolutely, for our entire nation. Now, the flow that's coming across the southern border is not by any stretch limited to our ports of entry, correct?
Absolutely not, not at all.
All right, so there's no question at the same time that we are seizing a significant amount of illegal drugs at our ports of entry, correct?
Yes, we're seizing it all along the border.
Okay, but a lot of it at the ports of entry, I would assume, primarily because we have the resources there, the manpower, the dogs, those type of resources and others.
We're able to concentrate law enforcement at those areas at the POEs.
That's right, and just because we have those type of resources there, it's safe to assume that we have tons of illegal drugs coming in between our ports of entry.
Absolutely. I think it's key to note that seizures don't indicate flow. And we know from the flow that we're able to capture between the ports of entry, that's a fraction of what's coming across.
That's right, and that's because we don't have the resources in between the ports of entry or the manpower, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so besides your conversation with Mr. Roy a while ago, talking about the importance of addressing the cartel issue between the ports of entry primarily, would you also agree that securing the border, the entire southern border, would stem the flow of illegal narcotics?
We have to secure the country, and that starts with securing the southwest border.
Now, you mentioned also that fentanyl is coming largely into this country from China, that they are the major producer, I think 160,000 chemical companies in China, and they are going to Mexico or whatever, and then across our southern border. How important is the article? I don't know if you saw the article that I just had submitted, but China now referring to fentanyl as a controlled substance. How significant is that?
What we have to do is make sure that China understands that they're about to become the drug dealer of the world, and we have to make sure that they are aggressively enforcing the class scheduling that became effective May the 1st, both on the intel side, on the classified setting, as well as in the public space. We're going to be able to track what China is doing to actually live up to their agreement. We have to.
And what kind of impact will that have?
I think it's going to have a significant impact. Congressman Roy held up the map or the graph that showed the amount of fentanyl. And while we're here today to talk about American lives, this is really a global problem. If you were to see the graph for Canada, which was just put out publicly this week, it's almost the exact same. I mean, this is becoming a worldwide problem. We have to take care of Americans, but China's got to stop.
Couldn't agree with you more. Sheriff Ivey, let me go to you with this same question. What kind of impact do you think the Chinese now referring to fentanyl as a controlled substance? What kind of impact will that have on you?
I'd go back to what you were saying earlier about the ability to deploy resources in other capacities. Right now, fighting this opioid epidemic is draining my resources. My team, for example, just in one case was committed for 6 months to this lengthy investigation. So being able to stop it at the borders, being able to stop it incoming into our country would give me the ability to shift my resources to do the other crime prevention efforts that we need to be focused on.
Well, I hope we are going to succeed in doing that. Director, coming back to you, probably for my final question, you said we've got to enforce this with China. What type of things do we need to keep our eye on as it relates to China, whether or not they're serious on this?
There are two things that I think we can see right off the bat in a public space. One is having them talk about it publicly, having the government officials there do what you all are doing and having hearings on this, talking about this. And the other thing that we will see in a public space is actually prosecution and enforcement of drug traffickers, of those who are producing fentanyl. If we see those two things in the public space, we'll be able to get a sense that China's taking this seriously.
Gentleman's time has
Thank you.
expired. Mr. Khanna, I recognize you for